Good evening. I'll call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I need approval of tonight's agenda and the addition to the agenda. A motion.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Petrie.
I'd like to pull G4 from the agenda tonight and table it until we can have a special meeting with the entire board discussing it. I think for transparency's sake, for the public, for us, for everybody, I would just love to have a special meeting where the whole board has their questions, just concerns discussed openly.
Which one are you referring to?
The ordinance
G4?
amendment. Yeah, G4. Tabled until we have the special meeting.
What is the procedure for that? Do we have to make a motion first to,
Ms. Petrie, are you making a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
Sure. With
Or are
that
you
change.
also adding the proposed addition?
I can.
okay, so a motion is being made by Commissioner Petrie to approve the agenda and the addition with the exception of C4.
G4.
G4.
Just tabled until we have a special meeting.
So we'll discuss when that meeting can be, and it was seconded by Commissioner Glissman. Is there further discussion on that from anybody? Commissioner Atwood.
Where would that leave us with the moratorium?
I believe the moratorium runs out on December 31st.
Okay.
I have a question.
Commissioner Swindell.
We've been hammering this out for months. This has been on there for months and months, and everyone's had the opportunity to ask questions. And it's been through planning commission. We even sent it there, like, we were happy with it, let's send it on to planning commission. We had it, we introduced it, what do we have to still discuss? I mean, is there something different that's on there that's not been on there for 6 months, or, I'm not sure why we would need to do that. We've made it this far, we're gonna get it done before the moratorium ends, and their business is waiting for us to finish it, and we are not going to because we have more questions suddenly that we didn't have in the last 6 months. We should have done that before we sent it to the planning commission, is usually how it goes, right? So why would we stop now and move forward again? Stop in the middle and start over? It doesn't make much sense.
What does that do to a moratorium and a special meeting that probably won't happen until after January 1st?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a little difficult to get a special meeting in between now and the 31st, with the holidays, of course. I guess my question would be, in addition to the many months that the board has had draft ordinances, I didn't think I had a single person, I'm sorry, Mr. Brady did approach me after the last meeting to express some thoughts he had, but in the last 2 weeks, I've not heard from a single council member until today. So I would have been happy to address any thoughts, questions, or concerns from any board member, but I wasn't asked any questions, so I'm not sure what the concerns are at this point either.
Well, I have several questions and clarifications that
Okay,
I would
well-
love for,
I guess at this point, then we put it
yeah.
to a vote on on that motion. So all those in favor of the motion? I'm sorry, you got your hand up, Commissioner Atwood?
Could we put a date on this meeting for the motion? Because if we gotta, I mean, for me, if we have to extend the moratorium again, that'd be the third time, right?
we should have had a special meeting a long time ago if we needed one and had questions and needed clarification before it was time to adopt the ordinance amendments and before it went to planning commission. If these were concerns, they should have brought up then, or perhaps in the last 2 weeks before the agenda was made, or I'm not sure. It doesn't make sense to
Okay, well,
stop now and start over.
Commissioner Petrie.
If I may just clarify, I think we got the final draft to us in the meeting that I was not here. I got the packet the day my daughter went into the hospital, and that was my priority. She was on a ventilator. I was not reading that, and I have been reading it since then, and I have some questions.
Okay, well, we'll put it
In
to
our
a vote.
defense, City Hall was closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so when I
Okay.
did, so
Understand.
I'm just
I understand.
saying
So
that
we'll-
it's important.
We'll put it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion say yes.
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 All those that are not in favor say no.
No.
Motion's failed.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Swindell.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of under J1 appointments to boards and commission for the planning commission.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Swindell. Is there support?
Support.
And supported by Commissioner Brady. Is there discussion on that hasn't already been? Well, okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion is carried to accept the agenda with the addition to J1. All right, then for the minutes. I need a motion for that.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Brady,
motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held November 18th, 2024.
is there support? Motion was made by Commissioner Brady and supported by Commissioner Swindell. Is there questions on the minutes? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those not in favor say no. Motion's carried. Now is the time and agenda for public comments. If you would like to address the commission, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. Brian.
Good evening, Brian Cloutier, resident in Cedar here. At the last meeting, I did request clarification on whether or not your amendment would indicate that it would be as easy to pass a resolution to increase properties for, or licenses for, is it license or property, or both perhaps, for marijuana, as it is to decrease through a resolution. Here's my thoughts on that. I don't have an opinion on anything else except for that. That issue is a big holdup for me personally as a resident, because ordinances should be written in a way that outlast all of you. Okay? We see executive orders when presidents get elected to office, and as soon as the next president gets elected to office, those executive orders are moved. Same thing can happen here. And to make something as important as the volume of marijuana facilities in our community as easy to pass by virtue of resolution is a little alarming to me. I think it should stay in the ordinance as an ordinance amendment, so that you have a public hearing, so that you have a first reading, so that you pass it. The other way that you're looking at doing it right now, I think only sets us up for new councils or new commissions to come into play, and to only erase everything that you've just done, or to take the flavor of the month of whatever that might be and change it arbitrarily. Something as important as the volume of these industries, this industry in our community, in my opinion, should be addressed at a much more conscientious level that gives the public an opportunity to come and speak. And it's not something that's just done in one meeting and then we find out about it afterward. I think for transparency, if you can do anything this evening, pull that out and do not approve it with a resolution language in it. It's just, I think, a slippery slope for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner
I'm
Brady?
going to give an invocation.
Yes. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this city. We pray you bless it, protect it, keep it, God. It's your city, these are your people. We pray that you would help us to govern well, Lord, and we pray that you look over our police officers, our firefighters, Lord, even our DPW workers as they enter their busy season. Lord, we pray that you would keep them and protect them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Anybody else before I move on? To the back. All I saw was a hand, couldn't see your face, sorry.
Hi, my name is Jacob Leroy. I live in Mayfield Township. I'd like to speak on item G4, similar to the first speaker, under the amendment to ordinance 68-3, authorization of facilities and fees. I also have a problem with the number of facilities, the provisioning centers, the grower facility, the processing facility, and the safety and compliance facilities. I have a problem with those being able to be amended by a simple resolution. I don't think that's proper, and in practice, I think it really ratchets in one direction. The board could pass a resolution to increase those number of facilities, let new businesses in, and then at a later date, if a new board or the current board decides that that wasn't correct and they want to go back, they can make another resolution to lower it, but those businesses are here. As I understand it, the city doesn't have the legal authority to stop those businesses or kick them out or, do anything, because at the time that they were approved, that was legal under the ordinance. So that's why I think that that should only be changed, those number of facilities should only be able to be changed as an amendment to the ordinance, like most things. I also, on item G3, I understand that their Vector Technology Group proposals new contract price for the city is going up more than double. I understand that they're going to be doing some new things for the city, but I still think that cost is very high and ridiculous, and I think the city would be better served maybe hiring their own IT manager to handle these things instead of contracting out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on then to the consent agenda. Commissioner
Madam Mayor,
Brady.
motion to approve the consent agenda for December 2nd, 2024.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Brady and supported by Commissioner Swindell and I think Commissioner Atwood.
Yeah.
Half a hand. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. That motion carries. Okay, now for the bill listing. Commissioner Brady.
Motion to approve the bill listing for December 2nd, 2024 in the amount of $211,963,000.79.
Support.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Brady and supported by Commissioner Swindell. Is there discussion regarding the bill listing? Okay, hearing none, it's a roll call vote. Tracy, could you do that for us, please?
Sure. Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Petrie?
Yes.
Commissioner Swindell?
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman?
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, now it's time in our agenda for a proclamation that I'm very happy to, well, you'd have to go ahead and do the motion before I read it technically. Commissioner Brady.
Ooh, I really want this one.
Yeah, this is great fun.
These are my Boy Scouts.
Oh, okay.
Madam Mayor, motion to adopt the proclamation for Blue Star Troop 127 of Lapeer as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Brady and supported by Commissioner Swindell. Is there just,
Sorry, Madam Mayor, if I could, I want to apologize. The agenda was supposed to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Boy Scouts tonight, and I see that was not put into the agenda, so I apologize.
oh,
But that's my only objection to what happened. I do apologize, so it's supposed to happen.
They shook it off when I offered it to them. They said, we'd rather not stand
Well,
in
so
front
that's the part.
okay.
Now I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, don't feel too bad.
Okay.
Okay, all right. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Nobody's opposed. Motion's carried. All right, great. Now I can read it. This is the Blue Star District Troop 127 of Lapeer. Whereas the members of Lapeer City Commission consider it a great privilege to celebrate and proudly extend a tribute to all the leaders, parents, friends, family, and scouts who have made the Boy Scouts of America, Scouting America, successful across our city. This organization has had a profound impact on countless lives in our state and nation. And whereas the Boy Scouts of America were incorporated on February 8, 1910 in New York City, received their federal charter as granted by the United States Congress in 1916, and celebrated their 100th anniversary in 2010. Since the Boy Scouts of America awarded the first Eagle Scout in 1912 to Arthur Eldred, over 2.25 million scouts have been awarded the Eagle Scout rank. And whereas today the scouting program represents the largest voluntary youth movement in the world, and approximately 195 countries having scout programs. The Boy Scouts of America has more than 2.6 million registered scouts, over 1 million leaders, and over 100,000 registered units. Their goal is to train youth in responsible citizenship, character development, and self-reliance through participation in outdoor activities, educational programs, career-oriented programs, and community service activities. Those scouts and leaders performed over 13.5 billion hours to serve to their councils and communities, with nearly 1.1 million youth attending a council camp or a national high adventure camp last year. And whereas the City Commission acknowledges the importance of the character building, responsible citizenship, and outdoor stewardship instilled in the Scouts through the values of the Scout Oath and Scout Law in young people throughout Lapeer, and whereas the City Commission recognizes the value contributions of all Scouts, and specifically to those Eagle Scouts who choose to complete their projects in Lapeer County. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Commission expresses its sincere appreciation to the Blue Star District Troop 127 of Lapeer for raising generations of young people who are trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent, which will help people make ethical and moral choices, and by their history of service and leadership development, help raise future leaders of local government. Thank you very much, and whoever would like to come up and I can present this to you, and I'm sure Jeff Hogan would like to get a picture, right?
Logan, you're the city controller.
I do.
Go.
Can I get a picture with my friend Logan? I taught Logan when he was in 4th grade.
So here we go. Thank you very much for all you have done.
Here, turn like this way.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we
You
go.
want to get a hand up? Hold. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
John.
There you go.
And thank you, Adair.
Thank you. And next, we have our audit presentation, and Mr. Doug Dieter is here to do that presentation for us. And you have in front of you the audit reports.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Doug Dieter with Raymond, and we performed the city's audit for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2024. And what I passed out this evening is the bound book is the full audit report. The stapled document of Raymond letterhead is just, as auditors, there's some required communication between us as auditors to the board, and that's what's in there, so it's just some standard letters. And then the last document is just the PowerPoint, which is also up on the screen here, that will kind of summarize those two documents. So I'm going to run through the PowerPoint, and if you have any questions or anything else you'd like to talk about as we go through here, please let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Turned on.
Says it is. There it goes. Okay, we're gonna start off with the independent auditor's report. And as independent auditors, we provide an opinion on the financial statements. And the opinion we provided this year is the same opinion the city's received in the past. It's called an unmodified opinion. Basically a clean opinion. And it means that the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. We're going to start off looking at the general fund, just some highlight information from the general fund. So the total fund balance at the end of the year, so the fund balance is kind of what's left over after all liabilities are paid. General fund balance end of the year at $5,180,000. That fund balance is broken into 4 different categories. You have non-spendable of $49,000. So what this represents is the city had some what we call prepaid items that were paid ahead of time, and therefore the money's already out the door, not available for future spending. So it kind of takes that and sets it aside in the fund balance category. There's a small amount of restricted at $19,000. There's an assigned fund balance of just over $1 million. What this is when the city adopted the 24-25 fiscal year budget, they're expecting to use that $1,014,000 of fund balance in the next fiscal year. So it's kind of pulled out, say this already has a purpose through the budgeting process. And then what's left over is the unassigned portion of $4,097,000. So that hasn't been given a purpose yet. It can be used for any purpose the city decides to use. The fund balance decreased in the prior year by $347,851, and we'll look at what made that occur on a future slide. Next page, this looks at a 5-year trend of the city's fund balance. So 2024 is the $5,180,000 I mentioned on the previous slide, and 2023 is $5,528,000. So that's a $300,000 decrease from year over year. We'll look at the general fund revenues. And this puts it into just several buckets into a pie chart, kind of give you an idea of where the money is coming from compared to 2023. The main categories for the city in each year are property taxes, income taxes, intergovernmental, which is your state and federal revenue, charges for services, and then everything else is kind of lumped into the other. So if you look at this, not a whole lot of significant changes from year to year in your revenue sources. The one that I'd like to point out is the green box. Intergovernmental went from 20% of your total revenue down to 17%. In the prior fiscal year, the general fund had about $450,000 in federal revenue. It recognized that it didn't recognize, and this year that federal revenue was spent in the Parks Fund. The ARPA funding was spent in the Parks Fund. So the general fund didn't get that $450,000 in 2024 like it did in 2023. Expenditures, same pie charts broken into the 3 main categories: your general government, public safety, public works, and then the other. One of the main differences here is you see the public safety, the red went from 53% to 56%, mainly due to some additional contributions for pension and retiree health care that the police function paid for during the year. If we look at budget to actuals, this is after the city made any budget amendments throughout the year. So this is the final budget. You can see the public safety, public works, and other are very close actuals, which is the red compared to the blue, which is the final amended budget. General government was a little bit under budget, and a couple categories there. The attorney line item was under about $95,000, and then there was some leftover contingency that wasn't used during the year that was in the budget. Now this slide, it takes the revenue that we had on the previous slide, adds transfers in. So transfers in are funds that come from another fund into the general fund. And then it also adds on the expenditures from the previous slides, it adds in any transfers out. So the general fund subsidizes other funds through those transfers. You can see 2023 total revenue was $11,700,000 compared to total revenues and transfers of $11,948,000 for 2024. So just about a $200,000 increase, very consistent year over year. The expenditures and transfers out were $10,777,000 in 2023. 2024, however, we're $12,296,000. So a couple things to mention here is, one is that $400,000 in the extra pension and retiree health care I mentioned in the police function on the previous slide. But in addition to that, there was about another $1.1 million in transfers from the general fund to other funds of the city to subsidize those. $100,000 went to the cemetery, $300,000 to the parks to help supplement that project, and then $700,000 went into the capital improvement fund for future capital improvements of the city. The city participates in the municipal employers retirement system, as do a lot of other local municipalities in Michigan. What you see here is a 5-year trend of the total pension liabilities. This is calculated by MERS actuary, does a calculation for each participating unit to say what do we expect the total liability to be over the future and the lifespan of the plan. That number is $39,554,000. You can see on the 2024 line. The plan net position, so each year the city contributes in excess of the benefit payments that go out, and MERS invests those excess contributions. So the excess contributions that are at MERS right now, waiting to go towards the benefits, is $29,373,000. So the difference between those two is basically the unfunded portion of just over $10 million. So the plan is about just over 74% funded. One of the things that plays a big, weighs big on these numbers is the plan net position is based on how the market returns are. So MERS measures this as of December 31st, 2023, so the December year end, and December 31st, 2023, you remember the stock market was doing really well. 2022, the stock market was doing okay, but not very well. So there you can see the planned net position this year increased almost $3 million, and almost all of that has to do with the investment market return that you saw in the calendar year of 2023 in your investments there. Oh, I'm sorry, that didn't move, guys. We're on the wrong way. There we go. Each year, the actuary calculates what the required contribution is for the city, and they determine that based on a lot of different actuarial assumptions. But the idea is to ensure the funds are there when the retiree elects to start drawing benefits. So the blue line is the required contribution. The red is the actual contribution the city has made over the years. You can see where you guys have made excess contributions to help get that funding of the plan up to where it is today. The required contribution both in 23 and 24 is right around 1.8 million. And in 2023, the city contributed 2.2, and 2024, the city contributed 2.4. So again, doing well towards funding that plan to ensure those benefits are there for your current employees and retirees. Retiree healthcare plan, same type of information, but this one, the city hires the actuary and is measured as of June 30 of each year. So the total retiree liability, again, this is based on estimates of different assumptions go into this to kind of calculate what is expected to be owed over the future of this plan. And that number was 17.2 million, up about $340,000 year over year. The plan net position, again, similar to what I mentioned with MERS, but the city controls these investments. They're in an investment account for the city. The investments or the plan net position was 4.1 million. Leaving an unfunded portion of $13,138,000. So this plan's almost 24% funded. The investment saw a return of about $400,000 during the year, so a good return on that. And then the contributions, you can see here the last couple of years, the required contribution has been similar to the actual contributions. Required for 2023 was $1,276,000. Actual is $1,234,000, so a little bit less than the required contribution. The required contribution for 2024 was $1,267,000 compared to $1,227,000 of actual contributions. So this plan is a little different. The MERS plan requires you to make the required contribution. The actuarially determined contribution for the retired healthcare is not required. There's nothing that requires you to contribute to that, but you've taken the stance that you're going to fund this plan to ensure that the benefits are available. So we've come pretty close to the actuarially determined contribution in the last 2 years and what was actually contributed. Going the wrong way again here. So one new thing this year for the city is, in addition to the financial statement audit, the city is required to have what's called a single audit, which the city hasn't seen one of those in several years. I guess I'm not sure when the last time was. Five, okay. So what this is the federal government provides grants to local municipalities, and any time the local municipality expends more than $750,000 in 1 year of federal awards, the federal government wants a single audit done. And that's done at the same time as the financial statement audit. But what this does is it looks at the compliance part of it. Say the federal government says you can have this pot of money, you can only spend it here, right? You have to spend it with this criteria. So the single audit looks to ensure that the city spent it the way the federal government asked them to spend it. So the total federal awards for the city for the fiscal year was $2,654,000. The majority of that, as you can see, was part of the Community Development Block Grant, which was the grant that we audited the compliance of, was $1,898,000. That was your water projects, correct?
Genesee Street.
Genesee Street, okay. So we did issue what's called an unmodified opinion on compliance there, which means that the city fully complied with the grant agreement and the documents that the federal government provided. The last page is just some upcoming accounting standards that will be applicable to the city in the near future. Probably the biggest one is the top left black box that's related to compensated absences for GASB 101. I think we talked about this last year. GASB has said you need to look at how you calculate that, and there may be some changes to how that liability is calculated for the city next year. And so, we'll work with Kelly to make sure get that implemented for next fiscal year. Okay. And that's all I wanted to touch on tonight, but like I said, if there's other questions or other things you'd like to look at, I'm happy to do that.
Does the commission have any questions? Okay, thank you. Chuck, well done.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate all the documents and you being here tonight for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Okay. Now I'm gonna approve it. Where am I? Oh, right here. Okay, so, ready for a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move to
Commissioner
accept.
Brady has his hand up. Go ahead, Commissioner Quiston. Go ahead.
We both, I'm just anxious to do this.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
That's because he did such a darn fine job. I move to accept and approve the audit report for the year ended June 30th, 2024, as presented by Raymond Robson.
Motion was made by Commissioner Glissman and seconded by Commissioner Brady. Discussion? All those,
Madam Mayor.
Roll call.
Commissioner Swindell.
I just had a comment to thank Ms. Hannah for working with them to do that, and since she has been here, we're in a much better position than before she was here, and I appreciate all of the hard work that it takes to improve that and have them sing your praises while they're here and doing a great job. Thank you.
This particular motion does not say roll call.
Right.
So-
Sorry.
Oh. It's very good. So all those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Those opposed say no. The motion's carried. Thank you.
Okay, you can do sludge.
Okay, now for G2, it's the purchase for the sludge transfer pump. Commissioner Brady.
Motion to approve the purchase of the sludge transfer pump as presented.
Support.
Motion was made by Commissioner Brady and supported by Commissioner Swindell. Is there discussion on this one? Commissioner?
I was gonna say, thanks for the tour, I now know what that,
Yeah, so what that
what
is.
that is, and what it does, and it's a very important piece.
Certainly is. Okay. All right, all those in, oh, it's a roll call, so Tracy, please.
Commissioner Petrie,
Yes.
Commissioner Swindell,
Yes.
Commissioner Glissman,
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Brady.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Okay, then we have G3, Information Technology for the Vector Tech Group proposal. Commissioner Brady.
Motion to approve the proposal for on-site IT support services with Vector Tech Group as presented.
Support. Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Brady and supported by Commissioner Swindell. Is there discussion regarding this?
Go ahead, Josh.
I was just gonna ask if you could give us a little more background maybe as to why
Sure.
we have this in front of us tonight.
Yep, so of course, I've only been here for about 18 months, so I'm not sure exactly what happened before this time, but staff tells me that the city kind of ran its IT on a shoestring budget. We've tried to change that. Obviously, we're now in an era of all computers all the time, and there's all sorts of horrible, horrible things that can occur if you just don't take care of your IT services. So we entered into this contract with Vector Group. I think they've done a pretty good job for us. One of the downsides of having a good group working for you is they identify all the problems that you need to fix. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of problems that need to be fixed because we've run our IT on a very shoestring budget over the years. One of the proposals in this is right now we basically have help desk assistants, which is we call them into the main call center, and then they eventually help us. We're going to try to have somebody here on site. I believe it's 2 days per week to kind of start tackling some of these really big, important details. And the other main cost associated with what we're proposing here is, the city has, 100, 120 computers that we use, and something like 40 of those computers are stuck on Windows 10, cannot be upgraded to Windows 11, and so those computers have to be replaced because the second Microsoft stops supporting Microsoft 10, our computers now become very vulnerable to IT attacks. So the cost of replacing the computer plus the time to set it up so it's got all of our files and everything on it, it's just an unfortunate side effect of what Microsoft is doing. Staff, we met half a dozen times on this issue. We certainly don't want to spend more money than necessary, but we think Vector's doing a good job, and we think these are necessary, important changes to make. We did also talk about the possibility of hiring somebody, in staff to do this work. And frankly, not only do I think it'd be worse service right now, but I think it would actually cost more money. Because once you factor into it healthcare, OPEB benefits, all those other things, you're actually going to spend more money doing that for less, I don't want to say value, but right now we have a whole team of people that can work for us. If we were to try to hire in-house, we'd only have one person. Ms. Hannah, Chief Oak, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Is there a breakdown of the 65,000 and the 25,000 and the, did I miss that?
Yeah, one of it's for the computer replacements, one of it is for blocks of time for the
That's where
work
that-
being completed.
And breaks down to about $100 an hour, which is really cheap IT.
Yeah, it's about half what we would pay.
Super duper cheap.
Yeah, because I freaked out when I saw it.
No, and legitimately. Of course, we're always happy to answer questions any day of the week, whether you or the public has questions. But it's a reasonable proposal, and our hope is that by tackling some of these issues now, that this will go down next year. We fully intend it to go down next year. But that being said, I go back to the original point, which is we could try to hire somebody in-house. I think it'd be an extremely difficult position to fill, and it would be more expensive.
Especially given the special knowledge that somebody would have to make sure that the city's secure. It's best to have a team that knows what they're doing at this point and can service us. So, that's just my comment. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so,
I think you better hand it over.
I just have a question. Now, Vector is our IT company, and they're the ones who said we need all this work. Is this something that benefit the city if we had a second opinion to make sure we do need all that work. And having somebody on staff always checking seems like we're big enough. Do other municipalities have an IT person? It just, I think Chief Voigt's doing a great job. I just think we're asking a lot of him to have two full, I mean, really, it's almost full-time to do what he needs to do for our IT and be our fire chief. So I'm just saying, I think it's asking a lot of one man to be in charge of all of this. Would it benefit the city to have an IT person that could take that load from him?
Yeah, so, I mean, yes, we certainly could hire an IT person, pay him $100,000 a year, $50,000 in benefits, to then act as liaison for a company that's doing the work for us that we're also spending, I don't know, 60, 70, 80,000 bucks on. I see it as kind of duplicating your effort, duplicating your costs. Chief O does a great job with liaisoning for us right now, but of course he's not, despite sometimes it feels like he's doing all the work. All staff is assisting him. I work with Chief O to help him, so does Ms. Hannah. So it's not entirely on him. You know, Vector doesn't come in and tell us you have to do this. There's still a third-party consultant. They come in and say, hey, based on what we're seeing, here's our recommendations for what we think you should do, and here's our proposed for cost. And then we can pick and choose, you know, based upon what we believe is important, what we have budgeted for the year, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, again, I think based on all the evidence that we've reviewed and all the discussions that we've had, this is the best proposal for this year. Vector's a good crew. They know what they're doing, and it is going to be costly this first year, but I fully anticipate this cost will go down next year.
Kind of looking at this, sorry, as a secure, has there been examples of municipalities who have kind of been slack or lackadaisical in the IT department that have kind of been pirated or hijacked?
Oh, absolutely.
Information?
I can't remember any specific off the top of my head. I know there was a hospital not too long ago that had their IT hacked and was a $4 million threat that they were, I don't know if they actually paid it. They don't advertise that part for them. But the threat was you give us $4 million or we shred all your jobs, basically. You know, the city has gone really strong on backups. And as you guys know, we had an incident here where some of our files were deleted, and we were able to back them up. So I think we're doing a pretty good job in that regard. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I get, sorry to go on another rabbit trail, but if, let's say, worst case scenario, we do get hacked, does our insurance company cover?
Yep, we do have some insurance. Ms. Hannah, do you have information off the top of your head?
I
It
don't
just, I'm
have
sorry, I
the
would have asked in
specifics,
advance, but it just,
but we do
triggered.
have a specific cyber insurance policy.
Yeah, we do. Got it. Tracy, do you remember?
It's a $10 million policy.
See, I should have gone with Tracy. Sorry.
okay, I think I'm done asking.
Okay. All right, then it's time for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Swindell?
Yes.
Commissioner Glissman?
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Peachy?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, now we're at G4 for the ordinance amendments. Commissioner Swindell.
Okay. I make a motion to adopt the amendments to chapter 7 zoning, subsection 7-6.02, schedule of uses, subsection 7-8.02, schedule of uses, subsection 7-10.02, schedule of uses, subsection 7-13.12, medical marijuana facilities and adult use recreational marijuana establishments, Chapter 68, medical marijuana facilities, subsection 68-1 to 68-8, Chapter 69, adult use marijuana businesses and facilities, subsection 69-1 to 69-6 of the general ordinances of the city of Lapeer.
Motion was made by Commissioner Swindell. Is there support for the motion?
Support.
Motion was made by Commissioner Swindell and supported by Commissioner Atwood. Discussion. Commissioner Brady.
I'd like to see amended 68-3 and 69-3, where we have a table that lists out the number of provisioning centers, growers, processors, and safety compliance centers, to strike basically everything after the numbers, unless increased or decreased by resolution of the city commission. I'd like that to just be stricken from the table.
So you want the numbers just to exist as they are and eliminate the portion about resolution?
Yes.
So the, Mr. Francis, correct me if I'm wrong, but the cause and effect of that would be to, any change of those numbers would then be required an amendatory ordinance.
Correct.
So I do have some thoughts on that, if you permit.
Yeah.
So I understand the concern, and the public members of the public who discussed it today, and of course you and I discussed this last week. They're good concerns. Now, of course, I wrote the ordinance in large part, so I have a deep understanding of kind of the mechanisms that exist in the ordinance. And I understand the concerns. I just don't think they're well placed given the other protections that exist within the ordinances. So, for example, there is a section within the ordinance that basically says if you attempt to transfer your existing license, you then basically have to go through the full site plan approval process that any new business would have to go through. And we did that because what we do not want in this community is a local, well-known person opening up a business, somebody we can trust, and then having them sell that to some Chinese corporation, right? So if the Chinese corporation wants to buy in this community and try to run a marijuana business in this community, they have to go through the same process as everybody else. Public hearings, they need to stand up there and say, we will follow all your ordinances, okay? So there will be, and of course, as you know, all site plan reviews are now special land uses. Special land uses are required by law to have a public hearing. So all transfers of licenses would likely have, and Mr. Francis, correct me if I'm wrong as you're walking away, all transfers of licenses would be treated like special land uses, subject to public hearing. Okay. There's also a provision that basically triggers if any license is given up, then that goes back to the city commission for whether it needs to be or can be given to another business. All right. The second part of that, which is very similar, which is if you are a new marijuana business coming into town, not only is there severe restrictions on where they can be located from a zoning perspective, but as I just mentioned, they're all now special land uses. So all special land uses require to have public hearings. And the fun part of the public hearing is everybody within 300 feet of that property gets a letter in the mail from the city saying, here's what's proposing to go there. So there is no real way to hide anything that we're doing, even if we wanted to, which we certainly don't. And I understand the concerns about a future council or this council increasing or decreasing that number based on the language that exists currently. But of course, putting in my city manager hat for a second, we like to have flexibility to address certain issues. For instance, if the city were to lose a lawsuit and be forced to give up another license, it could be problematic for us to go through the whole ordinance process to address what's otherwise required of us, whereas a resolution can do it fairly simply. And I guess my last concern would be, the way you propose it, I think is fair. We talked about last time potentially getting rid of just the increased portion and going with only decrease. I'd be opposed to that, and I'd be in preference of what you're proposing now. But I think it's fair either way. Both, I think there's protections built in that that's not necessary.
I would agree with you that it's not necessary, but
Politically, yes.
I think it gives us the opportunity to, and not in the planning board, but in the city council, to take a two-meeting action, which would be the same effect as if we were to be able to do it in one meeting. This just makes it, a change in those numbers go through a proposal 1 week, and then the follow-up meeting, things could be changed. These numbers can be changed by anybody in the future, either way, whether by resolution or by ordinance amendment.
Is that a question?
That's a statement.
So what about one, so we currently have 6 provision centers. Are those the ones you're referring to, Commissioner Brady?
I would seek to set all of those numbers at the numbers that were presented. The only real change is whether the commission can change them by resolution, or whether we would have to go through ordinance amendment to change those numbers.
So as I mentioned before, there is a possibility that the city, loses lawsuits, and that number might be forced to be changed. As you well know, prior to my arrival, there was a lawsuit that forced the city to give a 7th license out. And as I understand it, that business is hiring employees at this point. So we anticipate them to be open at some point. Now, again, Mr. Francis, jump in if you have something to say on this, but if we set the licenses at 6 now, and we're forced to allow a 7th license, while it may not affect anything kind of on a legal perspective, we'd have 6 licenses written into our ordinance and 7 licenses actually out there.
And that would be would that be the same as if we were to, I don't see how that changes from my proposal from what's here. It just depends on how we would increase that number if we wanted to increase that number.
You're right. We could certainly go through the ordinance process and say, well, we have 7, let's go through the ordinance process and approve it. There's nothing wrong with that. Just extra work for staff.
You're so good at it, though, Mike.
For the 7th one, is it both medical and
I'd have to go back. Again, I wasn't here at the time, so.
It
I
is.
thought it was just medical. Okay.
Well, of course, you have to
Basic
realize
saying,
that nobody wants to open up a medical facility at this
I know.
point, so it almost certainly is recreational, which we would then require to be medical also.
That's not, yeah, the judgment came down as both, because once you have medical, you can get adult use. And
I thought we
under
excluded
our
that.
own licensing, but if you look at the judgment, then that comes. But, Mike, I have a question.
Commissioner Swindell.
So, we've only had an issue with one place. In the 5 years that the places have been open, there's been an issue with one, because we let them go in a place that they shouldn't have been in.
Sorry, Ms. Wendell, do you specifically mean an odor control issue?
Any issue with any of them. There's only been one issue. So, because there's only been one issue with one of the places, and all of these changes that we're doing change the zoning so that it is far away from residential, very, very far away from residential. And that we change the way that they have to handle their air with these. And it's easier to take their license when they don't do it now, after this is done. I don't see an issue with being able to do it with or without a resolution, because they're not going in neighborhoods. They're not going in, the only place they can go now is, there's like 2 lots on John Conley. Who's gonna do that? There's only a possibility of 2 more opening, because there's 2 lots on John Conley that are vacant. That's literally where we have put them, and that's the only place they can go. And so, I mean, we can't pass a resolution and say, we want 10 more, because we can't, because it's not zoned that way. There's 2 lots that it's zoned in the area on the new map. And there's only 2 lots out there. So, it's not like we can say, we want 10 more of whatever kind of, which license it is. Because zoning says they can only go here, and there's only 2 lots. So we can't add any more. One of the lots we're currently working on, and so that means 1. So that one other business can come into the city of Lapeer, whatever kind that is.
Ms. Wendell, can I just jump in for a second? Because there's a
Mhm.
newspaper guy standing in the front row.
Yeah,
I haven't counted how many lots are available.
I
but-
did.
Okay. I just don't
I'll
want that
show
to be,
you on the map.
I just don't want that to be a statement of the city at this point.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's what, I looked at the map and the plat, and there's only 2 lots out there that are still available. But, anyway, by zoning it and not having something else like the nuisance of the odor, that problem won't come up anymore. And if you have them zoned and this is the only place they can go to fix all of those problems, like I said, we can't add 10 because there aren't 10 places they can go. So it's not, I don't, like, that fixes all the problems we have, right? With all the zoning that was done?
For the future, obviously, we have the problem of what was approved in the past,
Well, yeah,
but that's what all the new standards for odor control come into.
correct.
But the changing of the number of licenses doesn't really fix that issue.
Commissioner Brady has hand up first.
Madam Mayor,
I believe.
I move to strike out the words unless increased or
We
decreased
can't with the,
by the resolution of the city commission
Yeah.
under
Sorry.
68-3
We can't.
subsection A.
Yeah,
this
You have
motion.
to vote on.
This is an amendment to the motion that's proposed.
But you have to vote on the proposed first, and then you.
I can read you from Robert's Rules of Orders if you'd like.
Or the
Okay.
person who made the motion has to amend it. I did it already.
I guess it's a point of order. Oh, I've been waiting to say point of order for so long, you guys.
You said it at your first
I'm
meeting.
I know, but I didn't really get to use it.
So, I looked up call of question today. Call of question requires a 2/3
Yes, it
vote.
does.
Yes, yes, I know.
We'd have to vote on calling the question or not.
Unless the mayor finds appropriate cause to call the question. But I would like-
I believe I have the right to at least have a vote on that amendment.
Could you read the language from Robert's rules?
To get rid of, well, this is kind of jumping in the middle. You can, to get rid of words that are in a motion, you can do this by making an amendment to strike out the words. During the debate on a main motion, when no one is speaking, you seek recognition, and if the chair gives you the floor, you say, I move to strike out the words, like I just did, and then I would need a second, and then we could vote on that amendment.
What happens to the first part then? That part dies?
No, that
Vote
we're
on the whole
changing.
thing?
It changes the first part.
I would like to change that first part. And I don't believe that I need to rely solely on Ms. Swindell to do that. I think I have the authority to ask for that change.
I already asked him the opinion, so I'm gonna refer to Mr. Francis.
That's a different question.
Mr. Francis?
Yeah, I'm looking through the rules. I believe you stated it correctly. What I'm not familiar with is, like Mr. Womack, I've been here that long, is whether the city has adopted a policy diverting or amending Robert's rules as a policy and practice of the council, or if we're strictly on Robert's rules.
So, and again, I don't know if we're strictly running by Robert's Rules of Order either. It's been the tradition in my old community, and we've seemed to have adopted the practice here, that instead of modifying somebody else's motion, that you ask for a withdrawal of the motion in second if it's a friendly modification, or vote on the motion on the table, see if it fails, and then vote on, any amendatory language after that.
I would agree that that's the standard practice that I see. I guess the question is whether we're typically strictly following Robert's rules. That is the standard practice that I'm familiar with.
So
See, causing us problems, Mr. Brady.
if I remove my support, would that help the situation?
I mean, I guess I would say that's a judgment call. That's also a practice I've seen done. Now, again, normally you would have withdrawal of the support and the motion. But, if it's the mayor's call that removal of the support means the motion is no longer, it is no longer a viable motion, then that's where you have it.
It sounds like it's no longer a motion.
Now,
So,
Sorry, one more thing. So despite what I was saying previously on the ordinances as presented, when presented with a modification that has serious possibility of entering into the record as the law, it's probably a best practice to push this off to a second meeting so that the board and the public can consider the change. If it's considered a change that is important and kind of changes how the rules and the ordinance would operate. So in other words, a Scrivener's error would not justify a second hearing, but changing how you adopt licenses likely would be seen as an important change. So it might be a wise decision for public transparency purposes to push this into the, when's our next meeting? 16. If that is going to be your motion.
So what do we do with the first part now? That's where I'm completely confused.
Well, everyone's looking at me, so
Well, I can
We've never had this before
What
that
I-
I recall.
what I would say is take a vote on the motion. If it fails, then based on public transparency, I would recommend a motion to table to the next meeting with the anticipation that the proposed change would make it in the ordinance.
We don't need
The
another
December-
public hearing
December
because we're
14th.
changing it? We've
Not a-
already had a public hearing, right? So we don't,
So I don't think that's legally required.
Correct. Did Commissioner Atwood formally remove his second? I guess I would want
Not
the record
formally.
clear. Okay.
Did you formally?
I could formally, if it's easier. I'll formally remove my second.
Okay. Commissioner Atwood has formally removed his support, so
May I ask
now we need a new motion.
may I ask a clarification question?
Yes.
So normally, when discussion occurs and then a motion is withdrawn, the discussion is removed from the record. Would you guys accept keeping the discussion in the minutes for historical purposes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any objection?
What's taking place, what we talked about should be in the minutes. I think.
So, Madam Mayor, are you declaring the motion dead for lack of support?
Yes, I'm declaring the motion dead at this time for lack of support.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, go ahead.
You
I
have a
make a
question?
motion to table this item to the next meeting, to be added to the agenda on the 16th.
The motion's been made to add this to the agenda on the 16th. Is that
I have a question.
okay? We need a,
We have a.
Yeah.
need
Can
a
I get a
support.
clarification before I even offer a support?
technically you got to support
Then I-
before we
okay.
can discuss.
We're just gonna put this item back on there, just exactly the same way it is, and
G4,
hope it goes the same way or different, or?
clarify what your proposal is again. That you want this table.
Maybe we should discuss it tonight and hash it out exactly what we want, because public transparency, which is what everybody that was elected recently wanted. I came to many meetings before, and let me tell you, if they had the public hearing, the city's never done it the way that city manager did this with us this time. He presented it to us, this has been in there a long time now, suddenly it's not okay. It wasn't just on the last draft before it went to planning, and now it's not okay. And we had we even sent it to the planning commission, yep, put our seal of approval, stamped it, kissed it, here you go, got it back. And now, not even when we, the last meeting, it was fine. And now all of a sudden, it's not fine, and we're gonna sneak it in there. That seems sneaky and awful to me.
Madam Mayor?
It's not okay.
Commissioner Brady.
I'm not sure that we're discussing anything right now, but this definitely was added quite late in the game. This is not the information that went to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission dealt with the zoning changes. I've had mixed feelings about this, and I've been in constant communication with City Manager Womack, trying to get to the bottom of why this needs to be done as a resolution and why it shouldn't be done with an ordinance amendment. And I absolutely agree that we should figure out today what we want to do with it and set ourselves up to do something with it in 2 weeks.
So, Madam Mayor, I think you have a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, there is a motion to table to next meeting. Is there support for that? No, there's not support, so now we need another motion. Commissioner Brady.
Madam Mayor, I think that we should, I'm going to make a motion to change our ordinances. I'm going to need some help with the language here, gentlemen.
Ladies.
Well, I'm speaking specifically to the two gentlemen that are
Okay.
going to make sure we do this right. I would like to propose the same thing, but with that one change, so that we can
Can you
deliberate
repeat that
it.
one change again, please?
Yeah, that's
68-3, 69-3.
68-3A and 69-3A in the table where we list the numbers of different facilities. I would move to strike unless increased or decreased by resolution of the city commission throughout the table.
Support.
Is it your intention to have another meeting to pass, or are you intending to pass tonight?
I think that motion was clear to me, and then if we can get a support, then it can be discussed again.
I'm ready to deliberate on that. I understand the idea of transparency. I guess I would also ask whether this is a substantive change. We're not loosening, we're tightening the city's ability to make changes to its own rules. I guess that's debatable.
I believe it's a substantive change, but I don't think there's a legal requirement that you have a second meeting. I just think it's best practice.
We don't have to refer this back to the planning commission.
No.
These are not
Generally, I just
Zoning
double checking.
Madam Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
that would also, just so the commission's clear, and I believe this is the intent, would necessitate a change to sub B two, which references if the commission reduces
Yes.
the numbers by resolution. It would be a change that would necessarily have to happen, but I just wanted that to be part of the record.
Mr. Brady, do you accept that
I do,
modification?
yes. Yep.
Ms. Glissman, do you accept that?
I do.
Modification as your second?
Okay. So the motion was made by Commissioner Brady and supported by Commissioner Glissman. Is everybody clear?
As much.
Backtrack 1 second.
Yeah,
Under the old ordinance, how would we increase or decrease how it was written?
We weren't able to.
So we have to seek.
You would have to do a full amendment, it wasn't spelled out in the crayon.
It would have been an ordinance amendment, Steve.
Yeah. So we've been able to. Is there further discussion on that motion? Okay, we're gonna move ahead then. All those in favor say yes.
I'm unaware of the motion exactly.
Can you
It's funny
report
because I
what-
made it, I'm sorry.
Ms. Russell, could you
I
read the
know,
motion?
We are voting on item G4 as I proposed it. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, but we do have
Could
to
you
have.
read it how you proposed it?
Yes,
Because
Tracy
you
needs it.
lost.
Okay.
We're all off.
You picked a good day to stand in, didn't you? Madam Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the amendments to Chapter 7 zoning, 7-602 Schedule of Uses, 7-802 Schedule of Uses, 7-1002 Schedule of Uses, 7-13.12 Medical Marijuana Facilities and Adult Use Recreational Marijuana Establishments. Chapter 68 Medical Marijuana Facilities, 68-1 to 68-8, including.
You can read it all the way through and then make modifications.
And Chapter 69, Adult Use Medical Marijuana Businesses and Facilities, 69-1 through 69-6 of the General Ordinances of the City of Lapeer, striking out in 68-3, unless increased or decreased by resolution of the City Commission, and in 69-3, unless increased or decreased by resolution of the city commission, and to change 69-3B to strike out by resolution,
Did you say 68?
68 and 69. 3B.
He would be stricken completely.
Thank you.
Do we have it then?
Yep.
Okay. So, all those in favor? Any further discussion?
Didn't we have to make a change to C?
The C is about,
C is about non-renewal.
Sorry.
You're
We good? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or yes. All those opposed say no. I think I need hands.
Oh, she had 2 no's.
How about a
Yes.
roll call on something like this? Just a recommendation.
Well, we can do hands. Raise your hand so I can hear, see you better. All those in favor of the motion? Yes.
yes.
There's 3. Opposed, say no.
No.
Raise your hand.
No.
So it's 3-2. Motion passes. For Commissioner Brady's change. Okay. That leaves the budget amendment, Fund 603.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Glusman.
I move to approve the budget amendment for Fund 603 as presented.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Glusman and supported by Commissioner Brady. Is there discussion on the budget amendment?
Yeah,
Commissioner Atwood.
this one kind of irritated me as well as the IT one. Is there, I mean, we have background in here, but
I can give you my understanding of it, and I'll try not to have the steam coming out of my ears as I say it. So, there's something called POTS lines, and my staff is gonna laugh about this, because POTS literally stands for plain old telephone.
that's really what they call it.
Yeah, POTS lines. So of course, they're no longer profitable to use, so the, telephone companies have basically jacked up their rates to ridiculous amounts. But unfortunately, we still use them for various things, specifically elevators and I think some fax lines. So, to the extent that we possibly can, we've converted all fax lines to basically computer-based fax lines. And, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe fax lines are a more secure way of sending certain information. The courts still use it for that reason. So you can't convert everything to basically VoIP through the computers. But the elevators are the more difficult part, as I understand it, because there's only so many companies that do this type of work, and they seem to either be completely full up with work already, or they're just giving us the runaround. Because I've got 3-4 of my staff people calling these guys on a daily basis, it seems like, and they can't be made to act. So my staff has been working on this for months, and this is one of the few things I think that I've gotten actually angry about, because we're basically throwing money away, but there's nothing we seem to be able to do about it. So it just makes me mad. Anyone wants to speak up and express your anger about that?
Still have to have.
You can see Rodney's smile, that's an angry smile. I've never seen that man angry.
Oh, I wouldn't want anything to happen if somebody was stuck in the elevator.
Yeah, so we joked about maybe just buying a burner phone and stapling it to the wall for people to use, but that's not legal. We can't do that. So instead, we get stuck with these charges. So as I understand it, it's all coming. We're going to get it done eventually, but unfortunately, we haven't solved it yet. So we do have to do a budget amendment to make sure we compare those.
Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make me happy.
Well, who wants to? Yeah, pay the extra money, but
Now I'm running to fever, so thank you, Mr. Atwood.
Sorry.
any other discussion? Okay, this requires a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Glusman?
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Petrie?
Yes.
Commissioner Swindell?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Okay. Now we're at our city manager's report. Mr. Womack, what do you have?
I guess two
That's
things.
different.
Yeah, two things. So, Mr. Brady, I always appreciate you letting me know I gotta look at Robert's Rules of Order. Parliamentarism is probably the most boring thing ever to have to deal with as a city manager, so I will bone up on my Robert's Rules. I would ask you guys to consider, and I think I'll probably put this on as a motion at your next meeting. The first meeting in January is January 6th. A week before that is December 30th. As you guys know, there's all sorts of holidays in that time period, and we've got lots of staff that'll be taking time off. That being said, we also were proposing having a special meeting of the City Commission for a workshop session to deal with goals and objectives related to the budget in the new year. So what I propose is that we cancel the January 6th meeting and then end up holding meetings on the 20th and probably the 27th at your regular time. So 20th would be a regular scheduled meeting, and then the 27th would be a special workshop session. So I can put that into a formal format at the next meeting, if you guys want to discuss it now and tell me how wrong I am or not.
So January 27th would be the workshop on our goals and objectives.
That's what I propose. Any thoughts, questions, concerns?
Is the zoning board meeting scheduled that
No,
night?
yeah, you told me that already, didn't you?
I did.
So I guess we'll know between now, hopefully, whether that meeting's gonna go. Would we wanna try the next day, Tuesday, the 28th instead? Or how about this, you know?
Can we have both January 27th and 28th, depending upon whether the zoning
Yeah, so,
has to have a meeting on the 27th?
yeah, so I guess, I will contact you outside the meeting as things progress, figure out which day is gonna work best for us, and then put that into a formal approval for you guys at your next meeting, without objection.
Question. Are we required to hold so many meetings a year, and will that keep us in that requirement?
So the charter does indicate that we're supposed to hold 2 meetings per month.
Right.
And obviously, if we're canceling one and adding one, that would be 2, so.
But is the January 27th or 28th open to the public?
Yes, all meetings of the commission are open to the public.
So we would have them a week apart.
Yes.
We have the 20th.
And why aren't we doing the 6th? Why
27th
do we not
and
want to do the 6th?
Mostly because the week before that is December 30th, and a lot of my staff is taking time off between Christmas and New Year's. So I think it might be difficult to get staff to put things together on the agenda. And it's not just my staff, obviously, lots of vendors and other people we work with are also not working that week. So it would just be very difficult to put together an agenda the week before.
Did we do this last year too?
We did.
Okay, we all set?
And that's all I got.
Do we need a formal?
No, so I'm gonna bring a formal proposal next time after I talk with you guys individually about what dates work for you. and
Okay.
not.
Okay, very good. All right, our city attorney's report. Mr. Francis.
Nothing other than echoing the city manager, I will pack my Robert's Rules book. For the next meeting.
I'm gonna dig mine out. I know it's on the bookshelf in the office.
Fortunately, the city has internet, so we're able to look at, no, nothing additional.
Thank you. Okay, and that leads us into unfinished business. I have some appointments, and so does the commission. So I'll start with mine. Under the planning commission. Oh, wait a minute. Let's deal with this first. First, we need to make a motion to accept the resignation of Kathy Manchester from the EDC, Tifa, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and declare that seat vacant. Can I have a motion for that?
So
Commissioner Brady moves that, and Commissioner Blissman supports that motion. All those in favor of that motion?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? No. That motion is carried for that. Okay, now back to The appointments I have under the Planning Commission in front of you are the sheets that I would like to, can I do these together since they're both at the same time? Same 3-year and,
I would not recommend that.
okay, I'm gonna start then with Jeff Pattison, who was on the Planning Commission in the past. I would like to have a commission support that, or move that and then support that.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jeff Pattison to the Planning Commission.
Support. Motion was made by Commissioner Atwood and supported by Commissioner Swindell. All those in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
That's 3 to 2, motion's carried. My second one is, it would be my pleasure to appoint Audrey Brady to the Planning Commission for the other seat, same term, ending on August 1st, 2027. Could a commissioner move that?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Brady, is Miss Audrey Brady related to in any fashion?
That's my beautiful wife.
I think it would be best course of action for you to recuse yourself on this vote.
Would like to.
So Commissioner Brady has himself on that particular motion, once the motion is made.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Swindell.
make a motion to appoint Audrey Brady to the Planning Commission through August 1st, 2027.
Support.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Swindell and supported by Commissioner Wood. Discussion?
I do.
Commissioner?
Mr. Francis, could you just explain for the record and for the public why our charter where it talks about nepotism, you sent us an email saying that this isn't applicable, but if you could just explain in layman's terms.
If you can give me one moment,
Yes,
because I
thank
was
you.
working on pulling up that email.
Okay, thank
I don't
you.
want to state anything. Pardon me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or pull up the charter provision. Do you have the charter provision number at the charter? Whatever one I can find first.
I have right here. C-5, 13.13.
5-13?
Yep.
Bear with me one second. I'm sorry. So the charter of 513, nepotism provides that except and unless relatives of blood or marriage of the mayor, any commissioner or of the city manager within the second degree of consanguinity, I always get that wrong, or affinity, are bona fide appointed officers or employees of the city at the time of the election or appointment of the city manager, such relatives shall be disqualified from holding any appointed office or from being employed by the city during the time in which the mayor or commissioner is elected. So the question is, and this is what I'm trying to pull up to track down my email, is how we define the terms elected or appointed office. So if you just give me 1 minute, I want to pull that email up so I can read it to you. I'll get it.
No, it is, he's just looking at the opinion.
So the term appointed office is not defined in the charter. However, section 5.6 of the charter provides that vacancies in appointed offices, boards and commissions shall be filled in the manner provided for making the original appointment for the unexpired term. The position, the vacancy provision of the charter confirms that the term of appointed office is different than the term board or commissions as deemed in the charter. Accordingly, appointments to city boards and commissions are not subject to section 5.13, which is subject to appointed office. So it's although it's not a prohibited It's not prohibited under charter, it's certainly something the commission can consider, but it's not a violation of 513 because of how we define the terms, point of office versus officers, election of officers, so boards and commissions, I'm sorry.
So that clarifies your comment then, Commissioner Petrie?
As best as.
Okay, good. Okay.
Do you want me to start over? Because I know
No,
I
no.
scrambled till I could find the email, because the email
No,
covers
I
it
just
all.
wanted it on the record, and I wanted the public to be able to understand what the.
Okay.
Mr. Francis, is it your finding in your full analysis that this is a permitted appointment?
Yes, yeah.
So motion had been made and it was supported. Discussion's been held. All those in favor of appointing Audrey Brady to the Planning Commission, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Madam Mayor, is a tied vote, I believe you are the tiebreaker.
On the tie breaker, and I want Audrey Brady. That's my vote.
Is that a yes?
Appointed. That's a yes. So, motion carries with Jeff Pattison and Audrey Brady being on the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission meeting is next Thursday. I don't have the date in front of me, but letters will go out to them, correct?
Phone calls will go
Or
out.
phone calls. Yeah, letters, snail mail. Okay, and the Downtown Development Authority, I should have said something about that. They have not I have not received anything regarding that at this time yet. And I know that their meeting has been postponed for December, so we won't hear anything on that until January,
Madam Mayor, if I could just interject for a second. So,
which is different than our appointments.
so from what I understand, the Downtown Development Authority is currently working on their development plan and I believe TIFA plan at this point, which should be coming to this board for final approval very soon. Second I get a hold of that, I will send it to you guys informally via email so you can have more time to look at it. But I just wanted to let you guys know it should be coming here shortly.
So then there's appointments to be made under the commissioner appointments, and motions need to be made by the commissioners. Ms. Commissioner Swindell.
I will make a motion to appoint Chief Jeremy Howe to Civil Defense Coordinator through January 1st of 26.
Support.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Swindell and supported by Commissioner Atwood. Discussion on appointing Chief Jeremy Howe to the Civil Defense Coordinator. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Say no. Congratulations, Chief Howe. Thank you for your service. Okay, now for the Election Commission. Anything else? I think you could do all three of them.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Swindell.
make a motion to reappoint Clerk Ramona Sanchez, our attorney, Mr. Francis, and Denise Marinelli to the Election Commission through January 1st of 26.
Support.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Swindell and supported by Commissioner Atwood. Is there discussion on those reappointments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, say no. That motion is carried. Thank you for your service on that, Ramona, when you listen to this meeting, and Mr. Francis and Denise. Thank you very much. Okay, now there are a few other boards open on the commission appointments, so start talking to people, and maybe we can put out something that those openings are there.
So, Madam Mayor, I did present this board with a policy, I think very early this year, that would have required us to put out public notice. Certainly not opposed to a motion at this time, or a direction from the mayor herself to simply do that. I think we could get some good applications simply by putting out a public notice and looking for people.
I would like to request that be done for a public notice, because I've talked about that before. I'd
Okay.
like that to happen. Because I think that'll cover a lot more people will be able to see that, and maybe they'll show their interest.
All right, the city will put out a public notice regarding open positions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think that covers that portion of it. In your packet, of course, is your departmental communications. And hope you'll have a chance, if you haven't already, to read those. And now, excuse me, now we're back to public comments. Is there any public comments? Brian?
Madam Mayor, sorry for the outburst a minute ago, but I want to read something to you. This is out of Open Meetings Handbook. Roll call vote. There is no bright line rule for conducting a roll call vote. However, the following may be helpful in conducting such a vote. 1, when a voice vote reveals a divided vote on board, i.e. more than one vote. Or a roll call vote should be conducted to remove doubt about the vote's count. 2, if board members are participating by teleconference, where permitted by law, which is not the case here, a roll call will be permitted for the secretary's case. Or 3, when the board is acting on matters of significance, such as contracts of, bear with me, substantial size or decisions that will have multi-year impacts, a roll call vote is the best choice.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for that information. Perhaps things can be looked at later. Okay, any others? Okay, we're gonna move on then to commissioner comments. Commissioner Goldsmith.
I don't have much today, but I do want to thank our Eagle Scouts that came in today. We're really proud of them, and I just wish we could get more young men and women to become Eagle Scouts, because they go on to be presidents of the United States. Thank you for coming in.
Commissioner Brady?
Yeah, I'll echo that. These guys with Troop 127 put in a playground equipment at my school for an Eagle Scout project. They rehabbed some playground equipment, power washed and painted and removed some things, and they replaced wooden bleachers at the softball field. And the last two that I mentioned are in city limits. So I thought it was appropriate to bring them in
Yeah,
and say thanks to them. Yeah.
Thank you for doing so.
Thanks, guys.
Commissioner Petrie.
I'm going to start out with a couple of quotes that I felt were important, especially for tonight's meeting. And I'm back to trust, that word trust. Trust is not a matter of technique, tricks, or tools, but of character. And it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. That's by Warren Buffett. One more. Trust is built by and maintained by many small actions over time. And I was elected, I think, because people trusted that I would ask questions, find out answers, try and make decisions for the best for all of our constituents. And I feel like that's what I try and do every meeting. When I requested the special meeting tonight, I think that our conversation and discussion kind of implied we probably should have done that, so we had some more discussion and clarity for all of us. However, we didn't, so we didn't have a unanimous vote tonight. I would have liked that, because I know how hard you and Mr. Francis worked on these ordinance changes. I want to clarify as loud as I can that I didn't vote no on Mr. Pattison and your wife because of their lack of qualification. I did it because of the way the two people were removed from the Planning Commission. It was wrong, it's embarrassing, it was personal, and changing the policy now to put it out to the public, it's done now. What we did to two 18-year people that gave to our city I'm gonna repeat what Austin Kelly said at the Planning Commission after we did that. He said, we can be as business friendly as we want. We can harp and harp and harp on being a business friendly city. But if we treat people that love this city and serve this city without pay, the way we did those two planning commissioners, who cares if we have business? People won't want to do business here if that's how we go forward. And by voting new people in without addressing how that was done, to me, speaks to, it's a principle thing for me. And so I'm embarrassed that we did that to them. I'm saddened. The Planning Commission, there were a couple members that asked to look at the applications because it would be people joining their team, and I thought that was very fair. I brought that up at the last meeting. Let the Planning Commission look at the applications. To my knowledge, that was not done. And so now Mike is bringing up changing, letting the public know. It's embarrassing and
For
sad.
open spots.
The point is, they were on the agenda. Mike told me it was a staff error. The staff didn't know what they were doing and they accidentally put them on there. And it came to the public, then they were removed. It shouldn't have been done that way. We all know it. And that's why I voted no, because my principal won't, I care about my character.
Understand. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Commissioner Swindell.
First, happy birthday to my son Travis today. And I'll be there soon. Government moves slow. The reason government moves slow is because in 2 months' time, that was when I think we got our final draft, that nothing else changed 2 months ago. In 2 months' time, that's not enough time to make up your mind or ask questions. We couldn't come together as a board and figure it out. We couldn't come together as a board and even ask the questions. We couldn't come together as a board when we were presenting it, like introducing it, first reading it at the last meeting. We wanted to bait and switch it at the end. And 2 months' time, if that's not enough time, then maybe that's why government moves so slow. I think that the 9 weeks we had, it was plenty of time. We need to do what's best for the city, and that's our job. How does this decision affect our community? That's our job. Voting no on things that your vote is your job and your vote is your answer. And if you don't support what we are doing moving forward, then you're not supported. And we need to start having better conversations before we get to a point that we're trying to bait and switch at the end, because that's not okay. It's not okay to the public. People ran on, we need more transparency, then we don't bait and switch at the end. We figure that out a long time before this happens, because that's not okay. That's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioner Arnold.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of piggyback on what Peter was saying to a certain extent, it's, I understand why people vote no on things. I mean, I've had to do it on occasion, multiple times. You just gotta stick with your conviction and what you're feeling, and you look at what the ordinance is, and if you agree or disagree, you know, I'm not gonna think differently of people that voted no or voted yes. In regards to the Planning Commission, I do agree that it did create some chaos and slight embarrassment in the City and Planning Commission, but as it's written, that's a decision the mayor made. And it put us as a commission member in a situation to where we kind of cipher through who to pick, who not to pick, who's the best, which you want the best pick. But I think I want to see a resolution here, some sort of way we can, you know, for the next mayor or the next commission, somehow figure that out to where, you know, they're not put in that same situation, whether it be a policy or we look at how appointments are made, or if this is how we always do it. I just know in my 9 years, I've never seen somebody not get reappointed. And I've talked to you and you have your reasons, and that's fine, that's your decision to make. I just think moving forward, we need to add a layer of protection or something, not a layer of protection, but I just don't want the next people to have to deal with being put in that situation, if that makes sense. And I know City Manager Mike had a policy in front of us before. I don't remember if that fixed that. I know there was some verbiage in there that I didn't really like. But I know some of the planning commission members have also stated that they would like to see some sort of policy or resolution or solution for that. Again, I didn't like being put in this position, but I was elected to make these tough decisions. No matter which way you go, somebody's gonna be mad at you. That's what I've learned over the 9 years. It's hard to make friends when you're sitting in this seat. But again, I try and always keep those bridges up and keep those bridges built and maintained. Sometimes it's impossible, sometimes it takes work. But again, the changes we made to that policy, I mean, I would have been okay if we went to the next meeting, but the ordinance amendments we made to marijuana ordinances. I don't like making last minute decisions like that, but it made sense to me, which is why I voted yes, as well as all the other changes that were made. In my opinion, it's too late. We should have done this years ago, but we did it now. And again, that's all that matters. I think we did the best we could with what we had. We made the adaptive changes on the fly. We communicated those changes, and we deliberated right here in the open. So at the end of the day, people vote the way they want to vote, and they shouldn't be looked at differently.
Do you have anything else to add? Sweaters?
Oh, yeah, the ugly
Yeah.
sweater contest. Who has the trophy?
Me. Happy to pass it on before my grandson ruins it.
Okay, the question is, would you like to do that again this year?
I already bought mine, so.
Me too.
Don't be a Scrooge.
Maybe I need to dress as Scrooge then. We'll see.
You could be the
The
Grinch.
tradition
I don't
continues.
have any ugly sweaters.
Just wear a sweater.
You
No.
can, I can
You
vouch
can
for
buy
that.
one. You can buy one.
Goodwill has full stock.
Yeah. Okay, so we're kind of in agreement to be festive for the next meeting. Department heads, anybody else, please feel free to come with your Christmas
You are
sweaters.
encouraged, all of you.
Everybody. All right, great. I'm glad to hear that that's on because I already bought a sweater. All right. Mr. Womack, do you have anything additional for us?
I did go already, but I have an additional thing we'd like to say,
If the mayor will permit it.
if you would.
Is it like a quote from the history stuff?
No, it's from the county press.
Uh-oh.
Two Roland Warner students attempted suicide after bullying, and I just wanted to bring that up. Former teacher, I've seen bullying, but you need to handle that in the school and amongst yourselves in a positive way. I often found people say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, and it should be switched around to a positive statement in which you tell the child how to behave, because sometimes they don't know how to behave. And we need to be kind to each other. But reading that article, it just broke my heart that two students felt like they had to kill themselves because somebody bullied them in school. So we need to be quite aware, especially if you're a teacher or you have children. Watch out for your kids. It's really important. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Ward, do you have anything else?
Yeah, you guys keep talking, I keep writing stuff down, so. The first thing I'd say is I'm a former Boy Scout myself, so here I am now city manager of the city. After being in the Boy Scouts, I truly enjoyed my time and I felt that it improved me in lots of ways. I also mentioned that I'm proud of the commission. You know, this was a tough meeting, there were some tough discussions, but you got through it. And I think any meeting that I can have Ms. Petrie and Ms. Swindell voting on the same issue the same way, clearly we did something right.
Different reasons.
I would welcome and thank Ms. Brady for her service to the Planning Commission. Met with her, and I think she'll do a great job. Mr. Pattison, obviously, he'll do a great job. I want to thank my staff and tell them that I do trust them to do the great work that they do. The appointment policy, I'll bring that back for you guys to further consider. I understand the concerns, Mr. Atwood, that we had previously talked about. Basically, the policy is what practice is currently, but with the legal requirements that are written into the law. Those are the problems you have. Is I can't, by policy, force the mayor to do something contrary to what the ordinance allows her to do. So, that being said, if the mayor wants to impose it upon herself through voluntary action, specifically the sending your proposed candidates to the boards for their recommendation, that's certainly something you can do, but I can't require it of you, and I don't think the commission can, except by changing the ordinance. Just a quote from my old mayor: "You can't fix the past, but you can fix the future." So we can't always solve the problems that occurred in the past, but we can do the best that we can from now forward, so that hopefully 10, 20 years from now, nobody's saying, "Oh, that Mr. Atwood, he really rogered us but good with what he did that one day," right? So we can fix the future. And then I do believe I was misquoted, Ms. Petrie. I would never in a million years say staff didn't know what they were doing. That is a misquote. I did say it was a staff error, but I did not blame my staff for not knowing what they were doing. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I'm looking forward to the sweater contest. I sent 4 or 5 names. This isn't to answer to the commission, specifically Commissioner Petrie. I had sent at least 4 or 5 names in to be submitted for the Planning Commission. They were not supported. We tried to do a policy of what was currently in practice. That wasn't accepted for various reasons, just like Mike is going to redo that or submit it to us again. It is my decision at the particular time when Janelle Ricosta and Ann Shank asked to be reappointed. It was my decision. I stated right then and there why I was not going to do it several times. There's only one person out of this whole packet so far that I'm aware of that hasn't been appointed yet to something. Otherwise, I have appointed them. It was my decision on the others, and I'm going to leave it at that until that policy is changed. Thank you very much for all that you have done for our city of Lapeer and, of course, Lapeer County. I appreciate the Boy Scouts of America very much and the Eagle Scouts. Of course, I was not a Boy Scout, but I was a Brownie and a Girl Scout. So that is, it's very nice that you do so much for us. Without you, we wouldn't have this beautiful community. So thank you. I wish everybody a good week. Stay warm. Get the heat back on here. My feet are frozen. So anyway, with all that, there's no further business this evening. I call this meeting completed.